Wednesday, December 28th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I'm meteorologist Matthew East here with you. Pretty chilly, breezy conditions today. Really not that far below average at all. In fact, our highs in many spots right at the average for this time of year. But since we've been so mild, it feels pretty chilly. You also factor in a pretty brisk west wind, and that adds to the chilliness out there. But I think we're gearing up for easily the coldest air we've seen so far this season. As we get into next week, I'll talk about that and what happens between now and then, and maybe a peek at the longer range too as this edition of the video unfolds. Now, there's been some snow in the mountains. It's been a welcome sight for the ski industry for sure, and not just the snow, but the colder temperatures allowing that snowmaking to be ongoing across the entire region this morning. All the precip you see here from parts of East Tennessee and North Carolina on up into the Northeast, that's all snow that continues in some shape, form, or fashion this morning, and still some snow advisories for the white shaded counties near the Tennessee-North Carolina border there, also in parts of the Northeast. Now, the blue counties, those are all wind-related products. It's going to be another breezy day across the region. I think for most of us, not quite as windy as yesterday, but still pretty breezy nonetheless. There's your temperature map this morning. There's nothing brutally cold in most of the lower 48, but that is quite cold. Right up here just north of the Great Lakes and into Canada. That's some very cold type of air, some sub-zero temperatures up that way. And the pattern getting ready to buckle as we head into the very first part of 2012. Now, still a lot of chaos amongst the modeling overall. Let me show you what the European does here. First of all, here we are this afternoon, a fairly benign pattern. Pretty good clipper drops in here Friday, but it'll be moisture starved and probably unable to produce any precipitation once you're outside of the mountains. And then we get to the big amplification next week. Now, this is what the European looks like out at 144 hours. That's Monday evening of next week. That is an extremely sharp trough there of the eastern parts of the country. Now, again, the storm system that had been there on a couple of the previous European model runs, as well as the Canadian run from yesterday, the 12Z run, that's pretty much gone now on the 0Z cycling of the models here. And as I mentioned yesterday, it would take a lot of things to fall into place just perfectly for that European storm system to occur. And it just did not happen with the 0Z runs today. We'll see if it comes back in future runs. But again, that was the extreme scenario, as I mentioned yesterday. But anyway, back to the cold air. There's that very sharp trough in the European modeling. Compare that to the GFS. I believe I stuck the GFS in here. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. A much flatter type of trough, or I guess a broader type of trough is a way to describe that. Not nearly as sharp. And here's the reason why. Let's go out to a hemisphere type view, and I know this might be tough to see on the video, but this is out at 120 hours, so Sunday evening. On the European, you have a very sharp trough out here in the eastern Pacific that really cranks a very significant western North American ridge that allows this trough that moves into the eastern U.S. to be very sharp. All right, so there's the European. At the same exact time, there's the GFS. And notice this trough in the eastern Pacific, not as sharp. Therefore, the ridge not as significant. And this trough in the east, not as sharp. So it's all tied together, of course, in the weather. And I think probably the sharper trough scenario is the way to go. Let me show you the day-by-day charts here. This is the GFS this afternoon. It's going to be a pretty breezy day. A lot of sunshine once you get outside of the mountains, though, and highs in the upper 40s and lower 50s. Now, tomorrow, we'll get a little bit of a warming trend underway. The winds will switch around out of the southwest here for a few days, and we'll be back into the 50s area-wide tomorrow. And I think as we get here into Friday and Saturday and even Sunday, too, we could see some low 60s in a number of spots across the regions. There's Friday. There's Saturday. Notice that clipper, by the way. Precip way north of us in most spots. And the European's a little stronger with it, but even that keeps the areas outside of the mountains dry. So there's New Year's Eve. There is New Year's Day. GFS does bring a pretty strong cold front close to the region by late Sunday, then swings it through on Monday. And again, this is the GFS for Monday. That's the GFS for Tuesday. And yes, that's pretty cold, but not nearly as cold as what happens on the European model. Here we go today. On Monday. Arctic front just driving down to the Gulf of Mexico and into the Atlantic Ocean. Look at this. This is Tuesday of next week, and that is just brutally cold air. I mean, that is cold stuff. That's the real deal there. as we get into Tuesday of next week. And one chart from the Canadian here from Monday evening, and it is very sharp with that trough, just like the European was and is. So I think certainly the coldest air so far this season, and that's not that terribly difficult to do, but it should easily be the coldest air so far this season as we get into next week. Longer term, there's the NAO trying to trend toward neutral or even negative. If that occurs, the door would be open for the possibility at least of more extended type of cold weather in the eastern parts of the U.S. All right, that is it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.